What's up, y'all? It's Steph. I totally forgot to introduce myself last week. My bad. But we're back with episode 2 of Euphoria season 3. And it was a lot better than last week, actually. There will be some spoilers, so if you do not want any spoilers. Otherwise, let's get into it and enjoy. Tell me what you think down in the comments. So we open with Maddie. We see her approach this woman, Miss Penzler. Just like that. No appointment, no connection, no anything, just pure audacity. She says she's read her Wall Street Journal profile. She's done her homework, basically.
No, I'm not what you're looking for. I didn't go to USC. I didn't even apply to college. My parents were immigrants. I know my generation's entitled, but I don't believe anybody owes me anything.
And it works.
Please hold. It's Annie.
She's an assistant at what's basically a talent management company. And here's where things get interesting. She's building a parallel portfolio on the side. The reason behind it is also because she's trying to help her mom, who lost her business during COVID. She finds this girl, Caitlin, at the beach. She's using her connection to Dylan Reed to inflate what she actually does at work, and she's essentially becoming an unofficial manager. So eventually, Miss Penzler learns that Caitlin is adjacent to the adult content world, and tells her, nah, that's not the business we're in. So she tells Maddie to cut her off. And Maddie does so because she can't afford the stability she gets with Penzler. And then a year later, Caitlin is making $700K a month and posting a giant check to prove it.
And if Maddie had followed her instincts, she wouldn't be an assistant. She'd actually be successful.
So then she picks up her phone and there's a DM from Cassie. And it says, "I miss you. Can we have lunch?" And Maddie scrolls through Cassie's IG, and you can literally see the gears turning in her head as Rue narrates that Cassie is beautiful but directionless. Desperate for attention. She's so desperate for attention, she's willing to humiliate herself. And those are the kind of girls you can really mine. And didn't I tell you guys last time Cassie was going to be the one to reach out first? Because she sees Maddie being this, big successful head honcho. She's like, yeah, Maddie will tell me what to do. Then we tune back into Rue and we see her cleaning up after pigs, literally. And then she's going into the room where Tish died and she's like cleaning it up. And she narrates something that I think is going to be important, which is that she's seen people die, but this is the first time she's helped cover it up. I think there's a difference between witnessing and participating, and Rue basically just crossed that line. And as she's cleaning up, we see that something falls out of this rug that she's like rolling up. And I feel like that's going to come back to haunt her, or at least get her in serious trouble. Then we cut to Alamo talking to Lori and telling her, like, hey, you sold me drugs with fentanyl and one of my girls died. Lori's like, yeah, no, that wasn't my fault. Alamo's like, yeah, it is, and you owe me for that. Rue basically lets us know it was Lori's fault, but it was an accident because Wayne forgot to tell Faye to clean up the scale, so the pills that she was bagging up had small trace amounts, right? So basically, Alamo's like, you killed one of my girls, so now I get to keep Rue. And Lori's like, nah. And he's like, yeah. Click. There's nothing you can do about it. He does get really peeved that Lori calls him a pig and goes on a whole little rant about that, which is like, okay. Which I guess is an interesting juxtaposition with the pigs that Rue was cleaning up after. After all that, I'm like, yes, Rue is finally free from Lori. But then it's like she's in a whole nother situation, which might be worse. We'll see. Alamo gives Rue $300 and tells her she's been promoted And then we cut to the strip club called the Silver Slipper. So now Rue is working there, like, with the girls back of house and giving them drugs whenever they need it. So it seems like she has a little bit more freedom here. Like with Lori, it was more like that kind of grip was more like ownership. But here is like a different kind of situation. We see her lock eyes with this girl named Angel, and then boom, they're having sex in the back of Rue's minivan. And Rue admits that she'd be lying if she said she didn't miss Jules. And then we actually see what happened between her and Jules. So Rue tells us that she used to visit Jules in the city when Jules was at art school, but she said that too much had happened between them and Rue started relapsing like really bad. Jules basically kicks her out, probably tells her we can't be doing this. We see Rue at this like gas station. She's calling her mom. She's begging her mom like, please let me come home. I promise I'll do this. I won't do that, blah, blah, blah. And then the lights start shutting off at the gas station, which I feel is representative of how she's feeling, like, alone, no one's there. And she tells us that she hasn't been sober since. At the end of the episode, she goes to see Jules. And Jules has this like high-end apartment and a sugar daddy. She tells Rue that she only sees him twice a month and he pays for everything. Rue is making it seem like everything's like she's doing great. She's California sober. She's avoiding things that could destroy her life. And then Jules is like,
yet you showed up here.
And then Rue indirectly presses Jules about being a sugar baby, which ticks Jules off, and she tells her, you can't just show up here after all this time and pretend that everything's gonna be the same. And then she walks off angrily to the bathroom, and she pops back out, and she's like, I'm gonna take a bath. And then Rue's like, oh, okay, I'll go. But Jules is basically leaving the door open and is like... So back to Angel. We find out that Angel is good friends with Tish, the girl who died. Angel doesn't know that Tish is dead. She's leaving her voicemails, telling her she misses her. She doesn't care what she's doing, who she's with. She just wants to know that her best friend is okay. And through all of this, Rue is just standing there, hearing all of it, heavily feeling guilty. So much so that she ends up telling Angel that Tish OD'd. Oh man, I think the Tish thing is not good. So when Angel finds out about Tish, naturally she's spiraling. Like, customers are complaining about her. She's not doing her job properly. It's a mess. And then there's this shot of Rue behind this like beaded curtain while Angel is like spiraling, and it looks like she's behind bars, which is wild because she just got free from Lori this episode. But is she? Alamo tells Rue, get her to a rehab or she's getting kicked to the curb. Rue's like, all right. And Alamo incentivizes her and tells her there's a promotion in it for her if she can get her to the rehab. So Rue drives Angel to this rehab center, and everything about it is off. The front desk person is like too busy playing games on her phone. Her fingernails are dirty. When Rue comes up to the window, she's like, you with Alamo? We've been expecting you. There's no paperwork for Rue to fill out. The place is like, half the lights are on. And just before Angel goes, she tells Rue, I'm scared. And then she walks off. And yeah, it seems very grim. I feel like we're not going to see Angel, or something's going to happen to her. And then when Rue leaves the rehab to get it back into her minivan, an ambulance is pulling up. Coincidence? I don't know. Is she going to die? I don't know. And then to make matters worse, somebody's watching Rue across the street. So could those be like Alamo's people making sure that she is doing what she's supposed to? Or is it police? I genuinely don't know, but that scene was not meant to feel okay. Now, can we talk about this lunch scene? Because Maddie showed up prepared, all right? So Cassie pulls up in this shiny new convertible, fresh, glowing, new money energy. And then you see Maddie in the background in this beat up puke green convertible, just glaring at Cassie. But then The tables turn when she walks in. She's got her fur coat on. She's on a fake important phone call, completely unbothered. And the second Cassie sees her, you can instantly see the insecurity crawling across her face. And as the lunch date goes on, Maddie starts calculating. She didn't know what Cassie wanted initially, but Cassie essentially just handed herself to her drink by drink. The more she drank, the more she revealed. And by the time she admitted she didn't just invite her to apologize, but also wanted her help with her online presence, like, Maddie already knew. Before we get to the party, we need to talk about what's happening with Nate. He's in a worse place than we thought. He owes $550K. And then we see his dad, Cal, R.I.P. Eric Dane, who tells him that he found out through his sex and love addicts group that Cassie is doing all OnlyFans. And he's asking him, like, are you guys okay? Like, what's going on? And Nate's like, no, nothing's wrong. I don't know what they're talking about. Everything's fine. Turns out he meets with this guy named Nas. He's trying to, like, I guess, get more money from him. And Nas is like, you already owe me $500,000. And it's about to be $600K if you don't pay me $100K by this Friday, or else. And immediately Nate's like, yeah, no problem, right? Then this party happens, which is basically a fundraiser disguised as like a dinner pool party. We have Cassie pulling her neighbor friend aside and telling her, like, oh, look at the stuff that I've been selling on OnlyFans, blah, blah, blah. The neighbor is like,
What? That's sick. I know, right?
Then we see her pull her husband aside and tell him, like, hey, are they okay? Because Cassie's online selling OF content, and her husband's like, nah. Nate having money problems? Psh, that's crazy. And then meanwhile, Nate is telling people that
$100,000, that means nothing to me.
you can see him performing this confidence that he absolutely does not have. This is more like pressure because of that money he has to give by Friday. Towards the end of the party, Nate corners Cassie. He's like, let me see your phone. And she's like, no, like, for what? And basically she puts two and two together that the neighbor told her husband, who told Nate, that she's on OnlyFans, right? So Nate is trying to put on a good face, and he's telling her, like, what are you on OnlyFans for? I got money. You don't need that. Because she's like, I'm on there because I want my flowers. And he's like,
We'll get you all the flowers that you want if you just delete this account now, please.
like, he can't be some sort of real estate mogul with a wife who
Spread eagles on the internet.
just making him look bad all around. And then to make things worse, we have Juana, the housekeeper, asking about the leftover food.
Do you want me to save any of the food?
Sure.
The patties?
Yeah.
About the fruit salad?
Juana, please.
The cookies?
Juana, I'm gonna kill you.
It's a lot. And then the neighbors leave awkwardly, and he's just like stressed. And Juana, the housekeeper, she makes me laugh because she's basically in the background of every awkward moment in this household, just bearing witness to it all. And I just know she probably calls back home like, you'll never believe what these rich white people made me do today. Oh man, the gossip is probably hot. It's like a telenovela. Her interaction with Cassie during Cassie's demoralizing montage, she's like, Cassie asks her, do you ever want something bigger for yourself, like other than housekeeping? And Juana's like,
Me? No. America. My dream.
like, this is what she came here for. All right, here's my thoughts. The rug. When Rue is cleaning up the room where Tish died, something falls out of the rug. We saw it for a reason. Whatever that was, either Rue gets connected to Tish's death through it, or it resurfaces in a way that puts someone else at risk. And my gut tells me that Rue is probably going to take the fall for that. Nate's debt. What the heck has Nate been doing with all this money? Like, we don't know yet. But the fact that the neighbors clocked something was off at the party tells me it's gonna unravel publicly rather than privately. Maddie and Cassie. Maddie is going to work with Cassie, and I think somewhere along the way, that's going to get complicated in ways neither of them are ready for, because Maddie's instinct is right about Cassie. Like, she could totally use her to build something, but Cassie is also a landmine, and then being adjacent to Nate could worsen things for everyone. And if I had to name the biggest theme of this episode, it's fake it till you make it. Maddie is faking a career, Cassie is faking confidence, Nate is faking wealth, and Rue is faking control. And I am really curious to see who cracks first. Which brings me to another thing that I noticed, which was the safe. It's yet another mention or focus on a safe. 2 safes in 2 episodes. First was Wayne's safe last week, and then the one at the Silver Slipper, which we got a very deliberate close-up. The combination sounds, the camera lingering, the way Rue was positioned. I'm not sure if she was like genuinely not trying not to look, or if she was trying to figure out the code, or if she was there just to talk to Big Eddie. I don't know. But the safe has me thinking about how Rue spent this entire episode technically getting free from Lori, promoted, making money. Like, she is so close to something that looks like stability, and the safe keeps showing up as this object that represents what? Resources, an exit, freedom, power. In this show, every time somebody gets close to something that could change their life, there's always a cost attached to it. Maddie let Caitlyn go and lost a fortune. Rue got free from Lori and landed in a strip club. Like, freedom in this world is never just freedom. There's always a trade. So, what is the safe? I think it's the thing that Rue can see but can't reach without paying for it. Overall, I think episode 2 was tighter than the premiere. The storytelling felt more intentional. The threads are starting to pull towards each other, and I genuinely have no idea who's going to make it out of the season intact. Also, there were a lot of scenes where you can obviously see that Labyrinth's music was glaringly missing. I'll be back when episode 3 drops, so bring snacks, bring some water or whatever drink, and yeah, it's only gonna get worse for everyone here. Like, share, subscribe, do all the YouTube thingies. Bye!